it comes to writing, I did cut the writing out backwards so that I could put it in the mould and know that when I turned it round I could read it, but I couldn't read it and I couldn't figure out why. I wonder why I couldn't read it. That's funny. Hey, welcome back to my channel. It's Wendy here from Toonpish Crafts and I hope you're doing okay. Now, you know I like bright colours. Absolutely, the brighter the better. It's really got to be in your face bright for me to be happy. I really love bright colours. So when I found that Let's Resin have a chrome pack of colours, I was really intrigued because there's a red in there and I really want to see if this red is as red as I want it to be. There's beautiful colours in there too. There's a purple, there's all sorts in there. So I'm really excited to try out these Let's Resin chrome powders. So this is the box of chrome powders by Let's Resin. It comes with a brush, which is always handy. I like collecting those brushes. And in here we have purple, holographic silver, royal blue, holographic pink, red, green, gold, light blue, rose red, and blue. They all look super bright and sparkly, and I'm really excited about these colours. So I want to try dusting these colours in this video. I've cut some little tiny plastic stencils and I'm going to use my favourite keyring moulds. Now, because I cut them on the X-Tool M1 Ultra that I have a negative piece, which means I only really had to cut one of each to get two designs. I'm going to use each of the colours in one of these moulds. And where the stencil is, I'm going to use an opposing colour. Now, usually that means silver because I think silver will stand out against other darker colours. So that's the plan. I'm going to dust these moulds with the colours and use black behind them. With Chameleon colours, using black pushes the colours out, so I want to see whether these colours will do the same. Colours that are not Chameleon tend to be changed when you use black behind them, but Chameleon colours are different, and I use a massive amount of Chameleon colours. I love chameleons, and having some options for other colours to go with them would be fantastic. Once I've completely coloured the mould in blue, I can remove the negative stencil. Once I've removed the little palm tree, I'm then colouring that area in the silver. This brush is far too big. It does not need to be that big. It's picking up far too much mica, but it's the one I had in my hand, so that's the one I used. Once that's done, I can blow off the excess powder, and now I have a little palm tree with a blue background. And I'm going to do the same sort of thing with each of the colours. Using the negative space, you colour around the outside edge, you take the negative space out and you colour the middle. With the stencil, you have to colour the middle first, but because the powder goes everywhere, the mould needs cleaning. Once it's cleaned up, you can colour around the outside edge. Mica won't touch mica. So once mica touches a mould, that is the colour you're going to see on the front. Any colour mica that goes behind it won't be seen. It may change the colour slightly, It may make it darker, it may give it a tint, but you won't see that colour. Now, I have found doing this, because I was doing it with all the colours, that a negative space stencil, in my opinion, is so much easier. You can't necessarily do it with writing, however, because you need the writing of the letters to be in the right place. So writing is really stencil only, unless you want to sit there and make sure every letter is in the right place and doesn't move. That would be an enormous task. So for stencils of words, I do say that stencils is the way to go. Unless, of course, you have the patience of a saint. This rose red is another spectacular bright colour. I know a lot of people do not like pink, but this is quite a stunning bright pink, and it's very close to red. Again, I'm really having my fingers crossed that these all work with black behind them. But with little pictures like these doves, it's easier to put the negative piece that's been cut out into the mould, colour the outside of the mould, then take the negative picture out and colour the area that isn't coloured. That is so much easier than trying to clean the mould when you've got a stencil in there. That's just the way I found that is easier and a little quicker too. By the way, just to let you know that the plastic that I'm using for the stencils isn't the standard stencil plastic. It is a softer, more supple plastic that kind of grips onto silicone. The normal stencil type plastic doesn't really grip. It sits on top. Unless you push it down while you're using it, mica can get underneath it quite easily. And I will try and link this plastic in the description box below if you make your own stencils. All these colours seem really, really bright. And this method of colouring mica onto moulds is so much fun. The negative space can be coloured in, as I said, with a different colour, and this time I've decided to go with green because leaves are green. But I just really want to see what these colours come out like. I'm not going to put you through the whole 10 colours, but I will show you what they look like in the moulds when you're putting them down. I mean, this is such an amazing purple. It's more of a pink purple than a blue purple, but it's such a stunning colour. You know what I'm like with purple. I can't help it. I am so happy that there is a purple in the pack. And that little snowflake just looks stunning without even any resin in it. When it comes to writing, I did cut the writing out backwards so that I could put it in the mould and know that when I turned it round I could read it. But I couldn't read it and I couldn't figure out why. I wonder why I couldn't read it. That's funny. That's what happens when you're dyslexic. My brain just couldn't work that one out, but I got there in the end. The royal blue is absolutely stunning. I'm a big blue fan. I'm not a green fan. But as you can see, you still need to clean around the outside of the mould if you're using the normal stencil type design. But it doesn't take much really, a little cotton bud with some isopropyl alcohol and it comes right off. Now all these colours are going to have black behind them. I need to know what they're going to do with black behind them, and I want to show you too. As I've said, black works great with chameleon colours. That's the best colour to use. So I want to see if these colours would mix with other chameleon colours when you're making dragons or fairies or butterflies or anything that you want to put your chameleon colours in. Will these colours mix well with them? Potentially, we've got a whole range of colours here that will go great with our chameleon mixes. Now, I'm really excited about the red. So excited. Red is such a hard colour to find in a chameleon or in a mica that is bright enough. And like I said, in my eyes, it's got to work with black. So I decided to go large with the red. Got this shell mould here, and I'll try and put the link for that in the description box below. I want to see what this red is like with black. black. It's got to work. For me, personally, it's got to work so that it can be mixed in with loads of other Chameleon colours that I have. Chameleon colours are fantastic to use, and to have a bright red that works with black, that's just phenomenal. That is game changer. That is everything I've been wanting for years. Now this red does look spectacular on a white mould. Let's face it, it has a little tiny brown tint. Other than that, it's red. I don't think it looks orange. Well, maybe a touch orange, maybe a touch brown, but it's the best bright red mica I think I've ever seen in my life. Let's just hope, fingers crossed, toes crossed, everything crossed, that it works with black. So this mould is now completely red. And I actually found out that if you used a gloved hand when turning the mould inside out, it doesn't take the colour off the mould. I'm going to be using Let's Resin Fast Cure. I'm using that throughout this project, throughout everything I make today. I'm also using their black epoxy pigment. It's a paste, it's not a liquid, and it does need to be mixed well in a small amount of resin before you mix it into your large amount, because it can blob. So be careful of that. Remember, you need to mix that well. Now, for some reason, I don't know why, I poured the first part of the shell and I decided to turn it round. Very rough, and I spilled it everywhere. But if you spill something, you can wipe off the edge with a cotton bud. As long as it's dry, it won't spill again. Resin does tend to leak over it if there's too much resin in the mould. So I did take a little bit out as well, so that when I squirt it with isopropyl alcohol, it doesn't run over the edge and I get overpour. Now, I didn't make enough black, so I've used the rest of the black that I made for the base of the shell, and I'm just pushing it round to make sure it gets to the bottom. I then make some more black. That red is quite mesmerising though. So once I've made another amount of black, I fill up the base of the shell mould. I don't know about you, but I do tend to guesstimate how much resin I need. You can measure your moulds with rice, measure the volume. I tend not to do that for some reason. I squirt it with isopropyl alcohol and I go round the edge with a bent piece of wire with a loop at the end. This is ideal to get out any stuck bubbles from underneath the lip, and as you saw, there were quite a few. Squirting it again with isopropyl alcohol, I put it to one side and I let it cure. Now I have some more resin left over, and again I decided to check out the gold. Because this resin is now getting warm, I had to make a quick decision. Do I just abandon the black resin or do I make use of it? So I grabbed this owl mould, and with a gloved hand I completely covered the owl mould in the gold. This is a really quick way to cover your moulds. It is messy, and if you use an expensive mica, don't do it because you're wasting a lot on your glove. But if you're in a hurry, it works absolutely beautifully. Definitely something I've learned then. If you're in a rush, you can use a gloved hand. I poured the rest of the black resin that I had over into the owl mould. I made sure I gave it a squish and a shimmy to try and get out any trapped air that's in this mould. I've not made this owl before, so I'm intrigued to see what it looks like as well. And I made sure I got out every little bit of black resin to go into this mould. Now it was short. It was a little bit short, but it was up to the feet. So I figured that's fine. It's an experiment. I don't need to fill it up. I don't need to make that little tiny bit of extra resin on the top. I'm quite happy with the depth of the resin in the mould. I just want to say a quick hello and welcome to all my new subscribers. And if you haven't subscribed already, maybe you would consider doing so. It doesn't cost a thing and it will definitely help my channel out. The following day I can demold, and I'm excited to see, to start with, the extra piece that was totally unexpected and I had resin left over to make. And this little owl, not only is it a gorgeous mould, I think it's pretty much matte. It's a lovely mould, but that gold came out beautiful even with black behind it. Now let's see what all the other colours look like with black behind them. And to start with, this red. It is definitely red. That is promising. The green is definitely green. Not my favourite shade of green, gotta be honest, but then I don't like green. But it has worked well, and the silver also looks very promising. Remember, all of these colours have the black behind. The purple is a pinky purple. I would say more of a mauve than a purple. How would you describe that one? Rose red, really spectacularly bright pink, and it is a rosy colour. Light blue, absolutely beautiful. These colours look like they work with black perfectly well. Royal blue, beautiful dark blue colour, absolutely beautiful. And the silver too is silver, and they've kind of got a flicker of holographicness to them. All of the colours seem to have a sparkle to them. And the two holographic colours, the silver and the pink, definitely have that holographic shimmer. It is quite subtle, but it is there. Even the pink is pink. It hasn't changed with the black. Now the light blue. It's definitely light blue. It is quite silvery in this light. It's difficult to pick up that it's light blue, but it's definitely light blue silver. And finally, the silver. And yes, it's beautiful silver. It is slightly darker, but it is definitely the silver. Now, off camera, I did actually try out 3 of these colours with a white behind it. The silver, because I was really interested. And yes, there is a slight difference. The white is slightly brighter, but they're both silver. The gold, I needed to know whether the gold looked better with white or black. So I made a white piece. And yes, there is a shade difference, but they're both still vibrant golds. And that is really good to know. And finally, the red. I needed to know if the red looked better with white behind it. And although there is a very slight difference in my opinion, it looks better with black because it's a darker, brighter red. It's not so orange. So I am absolutely over the moon that this red and all of these colours work absolutely brilliantly with black behind them. Now, you saw me make the shell at the beginning. I am really excited to see what this shell comes out like, and it is stunning. You can't argue with that. It's red, spot on red. That is going to make so much difference to so many people who have been looking for this colour that has been elusive for so long. And I am speaking from the heart here. I have been looking for a red like this for years. If you go back to my old videos, you will see that I am saying, does anybody know where there's a good red? Because although you can find red micas, they don't act well with black. But this one does. Look at it. It is stunning. This is so exciting. This is definitely a game changer. And although I couldn't figure out how to put the lid on the box, I figured it out in the end. Now I did go on off camera to do a multi-coloured shell because I wanted to see how these colours looked together. And I am over the moon with them. Again, these are poured with black resin. The colours are absolutely stunning. Such beautiful combinations of colours, and that is the brightest shell I think I've ever seen in my life. It is really bright. I mean, I think I overdid it with the brightness on that, but I think it came out absolutely beautiful. And the mould is just a cheap mould from Temu. Now there is one issue that I need you to be aware of. One of the colours stains the moulds. And I didn't actually realise until I demolded the multicolour shell that there was a huge stain on the shell mould and on the star as well. The culprit was purple. Although this mould can be used over and over and the stain will not come out on any subsequent makes, it is still worth knowing that purple does stain the mould. Over the coming weeks, I will be using these colours in resin. That's the next thing I need to try. That might not be for another couple of weeks. It might be next week. We'll see how it goes. But I've absolutely loved using these colours, and I am so happy that there is that bright, shiny red. More than anything else, I mean, the colours are fantastic. All of them are fantastic. It's a shame that purple does stain the mould, but it's still a beautiful colour. And as I said, in the coming weeks, I will try these colours out in resin. But for now, I was so excited to show you the colour of that red. I really was. It was phenomenal. I hope you've enjoyed this video and I hope you've got something out of it. Come back and see me next week because you never know what I'm going to be up to. I never know what I'm going to be up to. Have a great week. Happy crafting and bye for now.